Picture this. You are sprinting through an international airport, desperate to find your gate. You look up at that massive 60-monitor departure board, and instead of flight times, the entire wall is just, one giant Windows blue screen of death.
Oh man, a total operational nightmare. But notice how rarely that actually happens in major transit hubs or like massive sports venues.
Right, exactly. So today, we are unpacking the invisible architecture that prevents those disasters. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we're looking at the Smart-AVI MXWallPRO-6060-S.
Yeah, the MXWall Pro. It's a piece of commercial AV equipment that commands a pretty staggering discounted price of $53,340.
Which is wild because the MSRP is over 76 grand. So our mission today is to figure out what makes this piece of tech worth the price of a luxury car.
Well, to understand the cost, we really have to look at the sheer physical scale. I mean, this is a 60 by 60 HDMI Matrix Switcher.
Okay, let's unpack this setup. When you say 60 by 60, what are we actually looking at physically?
So it uses 15 input cards and 15 output cards, and each of those individual cards carries 4 HDMI 1.4 connectors.
Wow. So it's basically the ultimate video traffic cop, or like a grand central station for displays.
Exactly. It has the capacity to take a single video feed and just perfectly mirror it to 60 independent screens simultaneously. Or it can take one massive image and tile it across a 60-screen video wall without even breaking a sweat.
That is a lot of pixels to push around all at once.
It is. And what's fascinating here is how it handles the signal quality. It doesn't just pass the raw video through, it actually features an integrated scaler.
Wait, so like a real-time universal translator for the video feeds?
Precisely, because in these venues, you might have a really chaotic mix of sources, blurry security feeds, legacy computer inputs, crisp promotional videos.
And they all look different natively.
Right. But this device grabs all those varying resolutions and forces them to speak the exact same language, which is 1080p at 60 hertz. The result is just this unified, flawless display across the entire wall.
Okay, here's where I get stuck, though. 50 grand is steep. Why couldn't a venue just buy, like, a really high-end PC, install some clever routing software, and push the video out that way for a fraction of the cost?
That is the logical question. But it's because a PC relies on a general-purpose CPU. That processor is constantly juggling an operating system, background updates, antivirus scans.
Oh, right. Literally whatever else the computer decides is important that exact second.
Yeah. And when you're driving 60 synchronized displays, even a millisecond hiccup from a background task just completely ruins the illusion. The MXWall Pro is purely hardware-based processing.
So instead of software calculating how to move pixels while, also checking for Wi-Fi, it's using dedicated physical pathways built specifically for routing video.
You hit the nail on the head. It uses dedicated silicon built to do one math equation at the speed of light.
But how do you control it? There has to be some software involved, right?
Well, yes, you do use a free Windows interface or even an Android app for quick adjustments and to configure the layouts. But once you hit apply, the physical hardware executes everything. Zero lag, zero OS crashes.
Which guarantees that 204/7 uninterrupted reliability.
Yeah.
Okay, you plug it in and it just works.
And that robust nature is mandatory for mission-critical or high-traffic environments. It's exactly why airports and massive sports bars rely on these plug-and-play systems.
It also handles HDCP compliance, right? I saw that in the spec.
Yeah, it natively handles those digital anti-piracy handshakes required to play protected content like live sports broadcasts without freezing the feed. And it packs all of this dedicated processing power into a standard 2-rack unit size.
Oh, so it just slots perfectly into a typical server closet without taking up a massive physical footprint.
Exactly.
So the next time you find yourself staring up at a giant, perfectly synchronized wall of TVs waiting for your gate information, you'll know there's likely a heavy-duty, dense hardware router behind the scenes doing all the heavy lifting.
And that actually brings up a really fascinating point to ponder. Because this particular device, at $53,000, is specifically engineered for 1080p video.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but the source site extensively lists newer 4K and 8K product categories, too.
Right.
So if perfectly routing 1080p requires this level of custom silicon and costs as much as a premium car, what happens when these massive commercial venues inevitably upgrade to ultra-crisp 8K displays? How much more expensive, power-hungry, and physically massive will these real-time hardware routers need to become to process that astronomical amount of data without crashing the system?